I've been working on the fence. I took the fence part of it, the mobile part of the fence, over to the shop and took it apart. There's a piece that goes in here that slides through this extrusion right here, and that's what locks the fence into position. That was really rusty. I cleaned it up, polished it up a little bit, and I squirted some Exo-Rust primer on it. The handle on that tightens it and locks it, that's got a ball detent on it, and there's a set screw in there that goes in, and a spring in there that pushes down on the ball detent, and that spring is all boogered up. I looked through my spring stash and I don't have one that'll work on that, so I've got to go to town and get a new spring. Meantime, I've been working on the table here. I just put the wing on the left hand side, got it all mounted up, and I've got the gauge here, or the part of the fence system set up on here, and I'm going to go ahead and mount it up. Now this thing sticks out here way wide, and I wasn't going to mount that on until I got everything else all finished. I've got nothing else to do, and I could put that table on there, but I really don't want to do that until the last minute when I get it set up to start cutting this wood, because it's going to be sticking out here and awkward to do anything with. But the weather's supposed to be nice for a few days now, so as soon as I get everything set up on here, I can start running those boards through there to joint that other edge on them. Well, anyway, this is the fence, the measuring part of the fence, and it's a big extrusion. Well, to mount it on, it's got two studs down here on this end that go into the tabletop, and on this portion of the extrusion here, you can slide nuts down through this, and they're captured in that. So there's two nuts down there and then two studs that fit into those, and then the studs are lined up to fit into the mounting holes here on the face, the front edge of the saw. Now they're nice and pretty, so they can go in here. Oh, there we go. I still don't have enough room. They go in there like that. And I'll put a nut in a washer and a lock washer, or a washer, a lock washer, and a nut, however you want to do that on those. I did find the instructions for this fence in the extension table online. I'm probably going to have to go print out some of that so that I can figure out exactly how to set this fence up. Well, I'm not going to tighten those up all the way yet. There's going to be some adjustment on that. Now this fence rail has a scale on it, and this end of the scale is coming loose, so clean that adhesive off on that and glue that back down. 52 inches. I dug around in the soccer shed there until I found the plug. Well, I got the plug changed, it's all plugged in, so I guess we might as well try it and see how bad it smokes. It rumbles a little bit. That belt, it'll take a little bit for it to get loosened up, but otherwise it's no smoke. It was turning pretty good. Alright, I guess the next thing to do is to go to town and see if I can find a spring to fit in that ball T-tent on that fence. I'll unplug this and turn the juice back off. I'll try it one more time. Alright, that's enough. I've been working on this fence. Actually, I went ahead and put the motor cover on here. I got some screws that I had, screwed them on, and then there's supposed to be, must be some kind of a latch or something on the other side that's not there. So I just drilled a hole in that and put a screw in it. So anyway, that motor cover is on there, although the motor doesn't really stick out that way. I mounted this rail up to the saw. Now I downloaded the instructions and I looked at the instructions, and they said to put two bolts in here with the bolt heads sticking out, and then to slide this extrusion over the bolt heads. Well, that won't work on this because it's not slotted here for the bolts to slide through. There were two holes drilled in here for the bolts to studs to go through, so the studs mount into here, a nut slid down through here, studs mounted into it, and then it goes through there. Well, anyway, that showed that this whole thing, that you do the same thing with the table extension out there, that you put some bolts in there and the table extension with them hanging out, slide the thing on there, but again, that won't work on this extrusion because it's not grooved out for the bolts to slide in there. Well, anyway, I've got it mounted up, and then this is how they show to set it up level. I've got it, I'll check it right there, and then down here, and I've got just almost exactly the same gap there. So I'll use that as a depth gauge. Now this is the fence, and I've taken it apart. Basically the fence, the extrusion goes on here on either side, and this is the locking mechanism. This goes into a groove right here, and then you can turn it and then lock it, and that pulls it and locks it tight. So this lug right here was what was really rusty, and then this shaft that goes through here was pretty rusty. So I've cleaned those up. These still had the black on them, the black oxide or whatever it is on there, but this was pretty rusty, so I polished it up as much as I could and then put a little exo rust on it. Well, this just mounts. You turn that parallel with the groove, and then you just slide that in there and then turn it 10 degrees. There's a ball detent in here. It's a ball bearing drops down in there, and then there's a spring that goes down in here, and a set screw goes in to hold that tension on that. And there's little grooves in this shaft right here that tells you how far to turn it one way or the other. And that goes cockeyed in this groove, and that's what locks it in there. There's adjusters right here that you can adjust this way, like this, and how far in that is. And those may be in there too far. Well, we need a box end wrench for that. That's just plastic. So I'll go get a 7/8 inch box end wrench for those to adjust those out. And then there's adjustments here that adjust the fence this way for square to the table, and this one over here is missing. And I don't think whoever had set this up knew what they were doing, because they had that fence on there and they had a shim in here on one side of the fence to line the fence up with this, and this is the way you line the fence up, is with these things back here. There, now it's locking in there. That's the way it's supposed to do. And then you adjust these for tightening it up to get it square this way, and also to keep it from wiggling like that. So these are plastic. You have to be careful. I wish they had a 6-point wrench instead of a 12-point wrench for turning those. I'd have to go get one just for this, I guess. I'm going to need to see what I can do about something to put a adjusting screw in there. See, that turns, that's floppy that way, and it's floppy this way. So anyway, that's going to take some adjustment on there. Okay, so that should be good. Now I've got to adjust it so that it goes back and forth this way and still up and down this way with these. But I don't have one for this side, so I'm going to take the one out of this side and see what I can do about making one. I've got some UHMW. Let's see if I can make one of these or something. I need to get a better screwdriver than that for that one. So this is what it is. It's just a plastic. I think I can make one of those. Measure and see what size that is, but it looks like it's 3/8. Half inch actually, half inch 20. I still need to adjust this so it's square with the fence, or square with the miter, which is also square with the blade, but it's locking down. Well, now then this piece goes in like this, and then we've got the fence. There's two hand screws that go on there, hand nuts, and that just slides on there like that. And these are the handles, hand nuts, that go on the other side. Well, that's good. This fence will stick out quite a bit past the saw table, so that's good for ripping. Now, I'm about 1/8 of an inch off on that end. So if I loosen this one and tighten this one, well, that's doing just the opposite. Hey, that's just about perfect. And the fence is still tight. Ouch! Don't get your fingers in between that miter slot and the fence. And that thing doesn't move. Okay. Now I've got to do something with these. Alright, I'll go see what I can find for this and get something done there. Alright, this was the adjuster that I took out of the right side of that fence to adjusting up and down. I went up to the shop and I found a piece of 1/2 inch UHMW, and I figured it out. It was a 1/2 inch 13 thread. So I made this. We'll see how that works. Alright, now I need a slot in there to for a screwdriver to tighten that up, adjust that. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use this cutoff wheel, just go down the center and make a slot across that. That should do it. It's a little bigger slot than I would have liked, but it'll work. Okay, so now we can adjust this fence. Let's see, 90 degrees. So already move it off of the, there we go. Okay, so it's got to come up just a little bit on this side. No, got to come up on this side. Okay, that does it. Now there's supposed to be, this fence is supposed to be just a little bit up off the table here. Not supposed to slide right on the table. Good, like that. It doesn't move back and forth this way. Alright. Side up here and then back here, so you can slip paper underneath that. So it's more up here on the front side, which maybe we can adjust this. There's a little slider up here with a nylon collar, nylon deal on the bottom of it. I can adjust that up just, or down just a little bit, up just a little bit, up a little bit, which will put the fence down a little bit. Now I got to put the indicator, the gauge on there. There's a little plastic doohickey right here that goes on the other side of that fence, and that's what tells you where the fence is set to. That's the gauge. Alright, I've got that indicator on there, but I have to wait to adjust it till I get the saw blade on there so I can measure between the edge of the saw blade and the fence to see how far that's cutting. So that saw is all but set up. That fence is perfect, or as close to perfect as you can feel with a finger. I still need to adjust the indicator over here. So that's 6 and 12 30 seconds. 12/30 seconds is 6/16 or 3/8. The little indicator is set. The next thing to do is to try it out, I guess, run a piece of wood through it. But I'm not going to do that now. Wife just called and's got dinner ready, so that's going to end things for today, I think. Well, I plugged it in and turned it on once already. Nothing smoked on it. Everything worked pretty good. So next thing to do is a trial run with a piece of wood, or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. Tomorrow, I think, yeah, I got to see what I'm going to do as far as a extension table off the end of this thing. I might have to do something about that. We got some long boards to joint on. Anyway, I think tomorrow we'll be able to open the hanger up and move the planer out of here and move this saw over, get it set up. Maybe tomorrow we can start jointing these boards. Well, I guess this thing's ready to go. Worth a try anyway. I've got it set. The higher the blade is, the more down angle there is on it for making the cut, and the less likely it is to kick back as it's cutting down, and it makes a cleaner cut. Well, anyway, I've got the blade in there. I'm going to turn it on and see what happens when I turn it on. Stand back here. Now I got to turn the circuit breaker on. Alright, that makes a nice edge. Well, one of the burners on the cook stove ran away last night, so I had to work on the cook stove this morning a little bit. Got that fixed so we can use it. Well, wife just called and said she's got breakfast ready, so I'm going to go have a little bite to eat. Then I think I'll open up the doors of the hanger and move the planer out of here and set this table saw up and get ready to start ripping down these boards, to edging these boards. Looks like it's going to be a busy day. Fog's starting to lift out there finally.